The galactic combat arena floated in the darkness of neutral space like a metal moon. Millions of beings from hundreds of worlds came here to watch the strongest warriors in the galaxy fight for glory. Today, however, there was no fighting. Today was a day for talking, and Commander Vexter hated talking. He stood in the diplomatic chamber with his arms crossed over his armored chest. His species, the Krovex, were built for war. They had 4 arms, each one ending in claws that could cut through steel. Their skin was thick and gray like stone, and their eyes glowed a deep red in the dim light. Vexter had won the Galactic Championship 7 times. No warrior in known space had defeated him in single combat. Beside him stood War Chief Zolmak of the Drenari. The Drenari were covered in black scales that could stop most energy weapons. They had long tails with poisoned tips and teeth that could bite through bone. Zolmak had led his death squad across 3 star systems and left nothing alive behind them. When the Drenari arrived on a planet, that planet died. These 2 warriors were the most feared beings in the galaxy. Every species knew their names. Every species feared their arrival. And right now, both of them were staring at the small, soft creatures standing on the other side of the room. The humans. There were only 2 of them. The male was called Captain Jake Collins, and the female was Lieutenant Amy Porter. They wore simple gray uniforms with no armor. Their skin was smooth and thin, the color of light brown sand. They had no claws, no scales, no natural weapons of any kind. They looked like prey animals. Vexter let out a low growl that his translator turned into words. These are the beings from the famous Deathworld. These soft little things? Jake Collins smiled. It was a strange expression that showed his teeth, but the translator said it was not a threat display. Vexter did not understand why anyone would show their teeth without meaning to fight. That is correct, Commander, Jake said. His voice was calm and even. We are from Earth, Class 12 Deathworld, according to your galactic surveys. Zolmak hissed, and his tail swung behind him. There must be an error in the classification. Look at you. You have no armor, no claws, no venom. A child of my species could kill you with 1 bite. Amy Porter tilted her head slightly. Perhaps, she said, but we did not come here to fight. We came here for the cultural exchange program. The Galactic Council had organized this program to help species understand each other better. The idea was simple. Warriors from different worlds would visit each other's home planets and learn about their cultures. It was supposed to build peace and understanding. Vexter thought it was a waste of time. Very well, he said. We will visit your little planet. But I warn you, human, if this is some kind of trick, I will tear your world apart with my bare hands. Jake's smile did not change. No tricks, Commander. Just a tour of our home. I think you will find it educational. The translator made a small clicking sound. It did this sometimes when it could not fully translate a concept. The word educational had come through, but there was something underneath it. Some hidden meaning that the machine could not capture. Zolmak noticed it too. He leaned closer to Vexter and spoke in a low voice. The translator is struggling with their speech patterns. There are layers of meaning I cannot read. They are prey animals, Vexter replied. What meaning could they possibly hide? The delegation was assembled the next day. 12 of the finest warriors in the galaxy gathered in the docking bay. There were 6 Krovex soldiers, including Vexter himself. There were 6 Drenari killers, led by Zolmak. Each one of them had killed more enemies than they could count. Each one of them had conquered worlds and crushed armies, and they were all about to board a ship to visit Earth. The human vessel was called the Horizon. It was not a warship. It had no visible weapons, no heavy armor, no shields that Vexter could detect. It looked like a simple transport vessel, built for carrying cargo rather than fighting battles. Your ships are as weak as your bodies, one of the Kruvek soldiers said with a laugh. Jake Collins was standing by the boarding ramp. He heard the comment but did not respond to it. He simply gestured for the aliens to come aboard. The inside of the ship was just as simple as the outside. There were seats, a small medical bay, a food preparation area, and sleeping quarters. Everything was built for comfort rather than combat. The Drenari soldiers hissed with amusement as they looked around. "Where are your weapons?" Zalmak asked. "We have some small arms in a locked cabinet," Amy replied. "For emergencies." "Small arms," Zalmak repeated. "Against what emergency? A strong wind?" The Drenari soldiers laughed. The Kraveks joined them. The sound of their combined amusement filled the ship like thunder. Jake and Amy exchanged a look. It was quick and small, just a tiny movement of their eyes. But something passed between them. Some shared knowledge that the aliens could not see. "The journey to Earth will take 3 days," Jake announced. "Please make yourselves comfortable. We have prepared food and entertainment for the trip." Vexter settled into a seat that was far too small for his massive body. He looked at the human captain with his glowing red eyes. "Tell me, human," he said, "why did your species agree to this exchange? What do you hope to gain?" Jake sat down across from him. His posture was relaxed, almost lazy. He did not seem afraid of the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy sitting just a few feet away. "We want the same thing everyone wants," Jake said. "Peace, understanding, good relations with our galactic neighbors." "Peace," Vexter repeated. The word sounded strange coming from his mouth. "The Kruveks do not seek peace. We seek victory." "I understand," Jake said. "But sometimes the greatest victory is knowing which battles not to fight." The translator clicked again. Once more, there was something underneath the words. Some meaning that slipped through the cracks of language and technology. Vexter stared at the human for a long moment. Then he turned away and looked out the window at the stars. 3 days, he said. "And then we will see what your Deathworld has to offer." Jake Collins leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes. The smile was still on his face. "Yes," he said quietly. "You will." The horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and Earth appeared on the view screen. It was a blue and green bowl wrapped in white clouds, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. To human eyes, it was beautiful. To the alien warriors aboard the ship, it looked ordinary. "This is your homeworld?" Vexter asked. He sounded disappointed. "It looks like any other habitable planet." "It looks can be deceiving," Amy Porter replied. She was standing at the navigation console, guiding the ship toward the atmosphere. Zalmak studied the readouts on his personal scanner. His black scales shifted as he moved, catching the light. "The atmosphere is mostly nitrogen and oxygen. Standard composition for life-bearing worlds. The oxygen content is 21%, Amy said. Some species find that a bit high. High. One of the Drenari soldiers laughed. Our homeworld has 18% oxygen. 3% difference is nothing. Amy did not argue. She simply adjusted their flight path and began the descent. The first warning sign came when they hit the atmosphere. The ship shook violently as it pushed through layers of air. Vexter gripped his seat with all 4 hands as the vessel rattled around him. Outside the windows, fire blazed across the hull. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Atmospheric entry," Jake said calmly. He was sitting in his seat without holding on to anything. "The friction creates heat. Do not worry. The ship is designed for this." The Kruvek's commander had landed on dozens of planets. He had never experienced turbulence like this. The air of Earth seemed to be fighting against them, pushing back against their arrival like an enemy. After several minutes, the shaking stopped. They broke through the clouds and the ground appeared below them. It was white. Everything was white. Snow and ice stretched to the horizon in every direction. "We are landing in a region called Alaska," Amy announced. "Current ground temperature is -30 degrees. The Drenari soldiers exchanged glances. Their home planet was warm and humid. They had evolved in tropical jungles where the temperature never dropped below 20 degrees. -30 was colder than anything they had ever experienced. "Your species lives in this?" Zalmak asked. His voice was uncertain for the first time. "Some of us do," Jake replied. "Alaska has a population of about 700,000 humans. They live here year-round." The ship landed on a flat area of packed snow. Waiting for them outside were two more humans. One was a large male with a thick beard and a friendly smile. The other was a female with short brown hair and glasses. "That is Sergeant Ben Torres," Jake said, pointing to the male. "He is a survival instructor." The female is Dr. Claire Mitchell. She studies Earth wildlife. The boarding ramp lowered and cold air rushed into the ship. The effect was immediate. The Drenari soldiers hissed and stepped back, their scales turning pale as the cold hit them. The Kreveks were more resistant, but even they felt the bite of the frozen air. Jake and Amy walked down the ramp without hesitation. They were wearing thick jackets and boots, but their faces were exposed to the wind. They breathed normally, their breath forming small clouds of mist. "Come," Jake called back to the aliens. "We have heated suits prepared for you." It took an hour to get all 12 alien warriors properly equipped. They needed heated suits to keep their bodies warm. They needed breathing masks to filter the oxygen-rich air. They needed eye protection against the bright white snow. By the time they were ready, they looked like they were preparing for a spacewalk rather than a simple walk on a planet's surface. Ben Torres led them away from the ship. He walked easily across the snow, his boots crunching with each step. The aliens followed slowly, struggling to move in their bulky equipment. "The gravity here is strong," one of the Kravik soldiers complained. "It feels like weights are attached to my legs." "Earth gravity is 1G, Claire explained. "It is actually lower than some planets we have visited." "1G? Vexter was surprised. His homeworld was only 0.8G. The extra 20% felt like a crushing weight on his shoulders. They walked for only 15 minutes before the first alien collapsed. A Drenari soldier fell to his knees, gasping inside his mask. His body was not built for this combination of cold, gravity, and exertion. Two of his companions had to carry him back to the ship dock as they continued walking. A sound came from the trees nearby. It was low and deep, like distant thunder. Ben Torres held up his hand and everyone stopped. From behind a row of frozen bush, a massive creature emerged. It walked on 4 legs and stood nearly 3 meters tall at the shoulder. Its fur was thick and brown, and its mouth was filled with teeth longer than Kravik's claws. It was a grizzly bear. The alien warriors reached for weapons they did not have. Baxter stepped forward, prepared to fight the beast with his bare hands if necessary. Then Torres simply clapped his hands together and shouted. The sound echoed across the snow. The bear looked at him, snorted once, and then turned and walked away into the forest. "What was that creature?" Zalmak demanded. His voice was shaking. "A bear," Claire said. "They are common in this region. Mostly harmless if you know how to handle them." "Mostly harmless?" One of the Kravik soldiers scanned the retreating bear with his device. His eyes went wide. "This creature weighs over 600 kilograms. Its bite force could crush our armor. Its claws could tear through ship hulls." "And you call it mostly harmless?" Claire smiled. "There are more dangerous things in Alaska. Bears are actually quite gentle compared to some of our wildlife." The aliens fell silent. They looked around at the frozen landscape with new eyes. The snow was no longer just cold white ground. It was a hiding place for monsters. "How do your people survive here?" Vexter asked. His voice was quiet now, almost respectful. Jake walked up beside him. "We adapt. We build shelters. We make tools. We learn the patterns of the animals and the weather. Humans have lived in places like this for thousands of years." "Thousands of years," Vexter repeated. That night, the delegation slept in a heated building near the landing site. The alien warriors huddled around thermal generators while the humans sat comfortably in light clothing. Zalmak found Vexter standing by a window, looking out at the frozen darkness. "I have conquered planets," Zalmak said quietly. "I have destroyed armies. But I could not survive 1 week in this place without their technology." Vexter nodded slowly. "And they said this is not even the dangerous part of their world." Outside, the wind howled like a living thing, and somewhere in the darkness, a wolf began to howl along with it. The next 7 days changed everything the alien warriors thought they knew about planets, about survival, and about the soft little creatures called humans. After Alaska, Jake Collins announced they would tour several different regions of Earth. He called it a nature experience. The aliens would later call it something else entirely. They would call it the Gauntlet. The first stop was the Amazon rainforest in South America. When the ship landed and the doors opened, the air hit them like a wall. It was thick and wet and hot. After the freezing cold of Alaska, the sudden heat made several of the Drenari soldiers dizzy. "The humidity here is 90%, Claire explained as she led them into the green darkness of the jungle. "The temperature is around 35 degrees. The Kreveks handled the heat better than the Drenari, but none of them handled what came next. Within an hour of walking through the jungle, 3 soldiers had been bitten by insects. Within 2 hours, one of them had developed a fever from an unknown infection. "The creatures here are very small," Ben Torres said, pointing to a tiny frog sitting on a leaf. It was bright blue and beautiful. "But that frog produces enough poison in its skin to kill 10 adult humans. Do not touch it. How do your people survive here?" Vexter asked. It was becoming his most common question. "Carefully," Ben replied with a smile. "They saw snakes that could swallow a Drenari whole. They saw spiders with venom that could stop a heart in minutes. They saw rivers filled with fish that had teeth like knives and could strip flesh from bone in seconds. Every single thing in the rainforest seemed designed to kill. And yet, they also saw human children playing in a village nearby. The children ran barefoot through the same jungle that the Galactic warriors could barely survive with full protective equipment. The next stop was Australia. The humans talked about it with strange smiles, as if sharing a private joke. "Australia is an island continent," Amy explained during the flight. "It developed in isolation for millions of years. The wildlife there is unique." "Unique how?" Zalmak asked. "You will see. Australia was hot and dry, the opposite of the wet jungle. The land was red and brown, covered in strange plants and stranger animals." Within the first day, the delegation encountered 17 different species that could kill them. There were snakes whose venom could destroy flesh. There were spiders whose bite caused days of unbearable pain. There were jellyfish in the coastal waters that could stop a heart in 4 minutes. There were even tiny shells on the beach that contained creatures deadly enough to kill with a single touch. "This is a death continent," one of the Krevik soldiers whispered. "How is anyone alive here?" 26 million humans live in Australia," Claire said cheerfully. "They go to the beach, they have barbecues, they raise families. Some of them even handle these creatures as part of their jobs." She showed them a video of a human man catching a venomous snake with his bare hands, smiling at the camera while the deadly creature wrapped around his arm. Zalmak had to look away. The African savanna came next. Here, the dangers were larger. They watched lions hunt, saw elephants that could crush vehicles. observed hippos that killed more humans than any other large animal on the continent. Hippos are very territorial, Claire explained as they watched from a safe distance. A hippo had just charged at a boat full of tourists. They look slow and peaceful, but they can run faster than humans and their bite can cut a body in half. Why do your people come here for entertainment? Vexter asked. He had seen the tourist boats, the camps, the humans who paid money to be close to these killing machines. We find it exciting, Jake said simply. The Kravix commander had no response to that. The ocean was the final environment they visited. They took a boat out into deep water and watched from below as great white sharks swam past. Each shark was bigger than a Dronari warrior, with rows of teeth designed for tearing meat. These are apex predators, Claire said. They have existed on Earth for millions of years, almost unchanged. They are perfect killing machines. And humans swim in their waters? Zalmak asked. All the time. Some humans even swim with them on purpose, without cages. During the ocean tour, something happened that would stay with Vexter forever. They were walking along a beach when he saw a small human child fall down on the rocks. The child scraped their knee badly. Blood began to flow from the wound, bright red against the pale skin. Vexter expected the child to scream, to collapse, to need immediate medical attention. A wound like that would take a Kravix weeks to heal. Instead, the child cried for perhaps 30 seconds. Then a parent came over, put a small bandage on the wound, and the child got up and continued playing. Within minutes, the bleeding had mostly stopped. How? Vexter asked Claire. How is that possible? Human blood clots quickly, she explained. Our bodies heal wounds faster than most species. That child will be completely healed in a week. No scarring, no lasting damage. That night Zolmek could not sleep. He kept having dreams about Earth. In his dreams, he was being hunted through the jungle by tiny poisonous creatures. He was drowning in an ocean full of sharks. He was freezing to death in endless snow, while wolves howled around him. He woke up shaking. On the morning of the 7th day, Vexter approached Jake Collins with a request. We wish to end the tour early, he said. His voice was tired. He had lost weight during the trip. Several of his soldiers were still recovering from various injuries and illnesses. Jake nodded slowly. I understand. But before you go, we have prepared one final demonstration. It will help explain what you have seen. Vexter wanted to refuse. He wanted to return to the safety of space, where things made sense. But something in Jake's eyes made him hesitate. One final demonstration, the human repeated. Then you will understand everything. Against his better judgment, Vexter agreed. He would later wonder if that decision had saved his life, or destroyed his peace of mind forever. The final demonstration took place at a military training facility in the desert of the American Southwest. The buildings were simple and functional, spread across miles of dry, sandy ground. Soldiers moved between structures with purpose, and the sounds of training echoed in the distance. Sergeant Ben Torres led the alien delegation to an observation platform overlooking a training field. Below them, a group of young human soldiers were running. They had heavy packs on their backs and sweat covering their bodies. The sun was hot and bright, beating down without mercy. These are recruits, Ben explained. New soldiers in basic training. They have been running for about 2 hours. 2 hours? One of the Dronari soldiers checked his scanner. In this heat? With those weights? Standard training. They will run for another hour before they are allowed to rest. The aliens watched in silence as the humans continued to run. Some of them were clearly struggling. Their faces were red, and their breathing was heavy. But none of them stopped. None of them fell. A large human male was standing at the edge of the field, screaming at the running soldiers. His voice was loud and angry, filled with insults and commands. "What is he doing?" Vexter asked. "Is he challenging them to combat?" "He is their instructor," Ben said. "He is motivating them by insulting them, by pushing them beyond what they think they can do." Humans respond well to challenge. It makes us stronger. After the running demonstration, they were taken to an indoor facility where soldiers were practicing hand-to-hand combat. The aliens watched as humans threw each other to the ground, struck with fists and feet, and wrestled for control. The fighting was brutal and fast. "No weapons," Zalmak observed. "Why do they train without weapons?" "Because sometimes you lose your weapon," Jake replied. "A human soldier must be able to fight with anything available, including their own body." One of the practicing soldiers was thrown hard against the floor. The impact looked painful enough to break bones. But the soldier simply rolled, stood up, and continued fighting. "Your bodies," Vexter said slowly. "They are more durable than they appear." Jake nodded. "Humans are hard to kill. We can survive injuries that would be fatal to most species. Broken bones heal. Lost blood can be replaced. We even have redundant organs." "Redundant organs?" "We have 2 kidneys, but we only need 1. We have 2 lungs, but we can survive with half of 1. Our liver can regenerate if damaged. Parts of our intestines can be removed completely." The Krevek's commander stared at the human captain. "You are describing a creature built for war." "We are describing a creature built to survive," Jake corrected. "There is a difference." The next stop was a human hospital. Dr. Claire Mitchell led them through halls filled with recovering patients. She showed them humans who had survived car accidents, falls from great heights, animal attacks, and industrial injuries. In one room, a young female human was sitting up in bed, smiling and talking with visitors. Claire explained that she had been in a car crash 3 weeks ago. Her spine had been damaged, her legs had been broken, and she had lost 2 liters of blood. "She will walk again within 6 months, Claire said. "Full recovery expected." Zalmak looked at the young human with something like fear in his eyes. "On my world, injuries like that would mean death. We would not even try to save someone so badly damaged." "Humans try," Claire said simply. "We always try." She also explained the human immune system. Every moment of every day, human bodies were fighting off millions of tiny invaders. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, and other microscopic threats were constantly attacking, and human immune systems were constantly defending. "You are at war inside your own bodies," one of the Krevek soldiers said. "Always," Claire confirmed. "We have been since we were born." The final part of the demonstration was a history lesson. Jake took them to a room with screens on every wall and began showing them footage of human warfare. He started with ancient battles. Thousands of humans with swords and spears, killing each other by hand. Mountains of bodies. Rivers of blood. The aliens watched with growing unease as the scale of the violence became clear. Then came modern warfare. Guns that could fire hundreds of rounds per minute. Bombs that could destroy entire cities. Weapons that poisoned the land for generations. Humans have killed hundreds of millions of their own kind throughout history. "This is how you treat each other?" Vexter asked. His voice was barely a whisper. "Yes," Jake said. "And yet we are still here. Still growing. Still spreading." The final piece of information was perhaps the most terrifying. Jake explained what humans were before they built cities and developed technology. He explained how humans hunted. "We are pursuit predators," he said. "Long ago, before we had weapons, humans would hunt by chasing. We would find an animal and follow it. Not fast, just steady. The animal would run, and we would follow. It would run again, and we would follow again. This would continue for hours. Sometimes days." Days? Zalma could not believe what he was hearing. The animal would eventually collapse from exhaustion. It could not run anymore. And then the human would walk up to it and kill it with a rock or a stick. This is how we survived. Not by being faster or stronger, but by never stopping. Vexthera's species were ambush predators. They relied on surprise and overwhelming force. The idea of being hunted by something that would never stop, never rest, never give up, was the most frightening thing he had ever heard. That evening, the alien warriors sat in their quarters, unable to speak. Everything they knew about strength and power had been turned upside down. They had come to Earth expecting to find weak creatures living on a mistakenly classified planet. Instead, they had found survivors, persistent predators, beings who had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every single day, and who had not only survived but thrived. Vexthar finally broke the silence with a question that had been building inside him since the first day. "J. Collins," he said, "you could have conquered the galaxy by now. Your species is suited for war in ways that no other being could match. Why are you so friendly? Why are you peaceful?" Jake looked at the massive alien warrior. His eyes were calm and steady. "Because we choose to be," he said. "We have seen what war does. We have fought enough battles. Now we want something different. We want friends instead of enemies. We want partners instead of subjects." He leaned forward slightly. "But make no mistake, Commander. If anyone threatens our world, our people, or our friends, we will remember what we are. And we will not stop until the threat is gone." The translator did not glitch this time. The meaning was perfectly clear. The journey back to the Galactic Combat Arena Station took 3 days. During that time, the alien warriors barely spoke. They sat in their quarters, lost in thought, replaying everything they had seen and learned on Earth. Vexthar spent hours staring at data files about human history, biology, and culture. The more he read, the more disturbed he became. These creatures had survived ice ages, plagues, famines, and countless wars. They had spread across their entire planet, adapting to every environment from frozen wastelands to burning deserts. Nothing had stopped them. Nothing had even slowed them down. When the station finally appeared on the view screen, Vexthar felt something he had never felt before returning from a mission. He felt relieved to be leaving a planet behind. The docking bay was filled with other alien species, waiting to hear about the famous Deathworld. Warriors from a dozen different civilizations had gathered to mock the returning delegation. They expected to hear stories of triumph over the weak humans. How was the little prey planet? A tall insectoid warrior called out as Vexthar walked down the ramp. "Did you frighten the soft ones with your scary faces?" Vexthar did not answer. He walked past the crowd without a word. Zalmak followed, his scales still pale from the stress of the journey. The Drenari soldiers behind him looked broken, their usual swagger replaced by silence and lowered heads. The council chamber was located at the center of the station. It was a massive circular room with seats rising in levels around a central platform. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy were present, curious to hear the official report on humanity. Vexthar stood on the platform and looked up at the assembled beings. For a moment, he did not know where to begin. "Counselors," he finally said, "I have visited hundreds of worlds. I have fought in wars across the galaxy. I have killed more enemies than I can count. And I am standing before you today to tell you that Earth is the most terrifying place I have ever been." The chamber erupted in whispers and confused murmurs. A Kravex warrior afraid of a planet? It seemed impossible. Vexthar waited for the noise to die down before continuing. "The Class 12 Deathworld classification for Earth is accurate. If anything, it is understated. The planet is actively hostile to all forms of life. The temperatures range from -50 degrees to over 50 degrees. The atmosphere is thick with oxygen at levels that are toxic to many species. The gravity is crushing. The weather systems include storms powerful enough to destroy cities. He took a breath. And that is just the environment. The wildlife is worse. Every region of the planet contains creatures that can kill. Predators with teeth and claws. Venomous insects and reptiles. Parasites that invade the body. Bacteria that cause disease. The humans live in constant war with their own world. Zalmak stepped forward to add his own testimony. I have led armies that wiped out entire civilizations, he said. His voice was quiet, almost humble. I have never seen a species as adapted for survival as humans. They can run for days without stopping. Their bodies heal from injuries that would kill us. They breathe poison and drink mild acids. They even poison themselves intentionally with substances they call alcohol and caffeine. For enjoyment, the chamber was completely silent now. But the most frightening thing about humans, Zalmak continued, is their history. They have been at war with each other since they first walked on two legs. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. They have killed hundreds of millions of their own kind. And yet, they are still here. Still growing. Still reaching for the stars. Vexter spoke again. I asked their captain why humans were so friendly to other species when they were clearly capable of conquest. Do you know what he told me? He said they choose to be peaceful. They choose friendship over war. Not because they are weak, but because they have seen what war truly costs. He paused to let the words sink in. Counselors, I am making a formal recommendation. Do not invade Earth. Do not threaten humanity. Do not give them any reason to remember what they are. These beings evolved on a world that tried to kill them every single day, and they won. They became the apex predators of a death planet. If we make enemies of them, they will not stop until we are destroyed. An elder from one of the council species raised a tentacle. Commander, you are one of the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Are you truly saying that humans frighten you? Vexter met the elder's gaze without shame. Yes, he said simply. They are the only species we have ever encountered that scares us. The vote was held immediately. It was unanimous. Humanity's diplomatic status was upgraded to full partnership with special protections and priority trade agreements. No species in the galaxy wanted to risk angering the persistence predators from the Class 12 Deathworld. After the session, Jake Collins and Amy Porter were waiting in the diplomatic wing. They had watched the council meeting through a video feed and were smiling when Vexter approached. Thank you, Commander, Jake said. Your recommendation will help our species greatly. Vexter looked at the small, soft creature in front of him. A creature that could run for days, heal from terrible wounds, and survive in environments that would kill any Kravex. I did not do it for you, Vexter said honestly. I did it for my people. I did it so that we never have to face humans in battle. Jake's smile widened slightly. That is probably wise. A message alert chimed on Jake's device. He looked at it and laughed softly. What is it? Amy asked. The council has sent a follow-up request, Jake said. They want to know if Earth would be willing to train soldiers from other species. Help them become stronger and more resilient. Vexter felt a chill run through his body. The idea of other species being trained by humans, becoming more human in their capabilities, was both exciting and terrifying. What will you tell them? He asked. Jake typed a quick response and sent it before answering. I told them to send their soldiers to Alaska in January. We will see who survives orientation. He said it like a joke, but there was steel underneath the humor. A reminder that human friendliness was a choice, not a weakness. As Jake and Amy walked away, Vexter stood in the corridor and watched them go. They moved with a casual ease that he now understood was not laziness, but efficiency. Everything about them was designed for endurance, for survival, for never giving up. In the months that followed, stories about the Deathworld called Earth spread across the galaxy. Warriors told tales of polar bears and great white sharks, of venomous snakes and crushing gravity. They spoke of humans who ran for days, healed in weeks, and fought each other with a brutality that made other species look peaceful. But the story that spread the furthest was simpler. It was the story of the galaxy's deadliest fighters going to a small blue planet and learning what fear truly meant. They learned that strength was not just about claws and scales and weapons. Sometimes, strength was about surviving, and no one in the galaxy survived better than humans.